Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Monday Musings of the Wedding World. Today, we're going to be discussing how to get people dancing at your wedding, which sounds really simple, but actually, you really do need to think about this because it's not always automatic. Lots of people are awkward or, don't want to be the first one up on the dance floor. So, we've got some tips for you that we want to share with you today. I'm joined by Shuggy, our resident Kaylee caller. Sarah, our resident florist and stylist, and of course Claire, who owns a really cool, unique mobile venue, which is a marquee coming out of a double-decker bus. Um, Everyone needs one of those, absolutely, even if you don't know it yet. And I'm Zadie, resident celebrant. Although today will be one of my last episodes for now, I will pop back every now and again as a guest appearance, particularly if the gang are discussing ceremonies. But for now, I will be taking a little break. So I'm really excited to be talking about this one today before, though. So I'm going to go to Shuggy first. I think being our sort of supplier who does the dancing in the evening, it only feels right to come to you first. What are your main top tips?
So my main top tips, and this works, most of these actually I've stolen from DJs that I've been to weddings as guests from. But I've been doing this now for 15 years, so this is stuff that I've stolen over the years and stuff when I've been sort of speaking to couples and guests that have complimented me on my style of sort of entertainment in the evening that I know actually works and stuff. And it starts with the first dance. So whether you're having a Kaylee first dance or like a more traditional sort of couples first dance, that actually starts probably about 3 months before your big day. So have a think about the music and what you're going to dance to. Have a practice of it in the kitchen because I've had a few couples where I've said to do this, have a timer. If you're just going to do the whole dance yourself, that's fine. But most of my couples kind of cringe at the thought of being up for 3.5 minutes on their own with people around them. So have a wee dance in the kitchen, listen to the music with a timer. And about 30 seconds in, 45 seconds in, a minute and a quarter in, the music will change ever so slightly. And in those sort of time frames, that's when you two will have had enough of the dancing on your own, and that's when you want to get somebody to get the rest of the guests on the dance floor. What you don't want to be doing is trying to make eye contact with your bridesmaid or your best man, or trying to usher people in. Let somebody else take care of that, and they'll have a timer. So if it's me, I'll have a timer. 30 seconds in, I'll encourage your guests on the dance floor, a minute in, whatever. So you don't have to really worry about that side of things. But also, interestingly, when I've said to couples to do that, they've changed their first dance because it's either too fast for them or too slow for them. So it gives you that option of sort of changing and things. And then the other one, obviously, if you're having a Kaylee, you can have a Kaylee first dance. So that everybody's up, everybody's waiting for you to join in, and they're all chucked in at the deep end with a Kaylee. So that kind of helps with that bit. And from a Kaylee point of view, it breaks the ice, gets everybody dancing. The stuff that I do is gender free, so everybody's sort of dancing with everybody else. And I can't speak for non-Kaylee weddings because when you've got a Kaylee, everybody's up. You're not getting forced to get up. If you don't want to dance, you don't want to dance. There's a wee bit of sort of heckling if you don't dance, and that's from the other guests. And usually when people sort of say, okay, well, I'll just do one, you don't get them off the dance floor. So that's that bit. But then also at the end of the Kaylee, and I guess this is for the next song after the first dance, and sometimes you'll have a first dance and you'll have a father and daughter first dance as well, and kind of the same rules apply to that on how long is it, what's the tempo, when do you want people joining in and stuff like that. But actually, regardless of your own preference of music, speak to your DJ and say, what do you recommend for the next dance after? Because he'll have his own thoughts on it. And it might be Mr. Brightside, it might be Chelsea Dagger, it might be 500 Miles, that sort of thing, rather than something that you think, actually, this is what we want. And that's great. But actually, if that's what you want and the dance floor clears, you'll cringe a little bit and so will your DJ. So it's very much speak to them and see what they recommend. They'll probably know the venue, they'll know the vibe of the venue, they'll have talked to you about what you want for your playlist and stuff like that. So it's very much about having that first dance and you being comfortable with it, but then also that next dance that keeps people on the dance floor as well. And then there's always the ones, and I've got a couple of musician friends who do weddings separately, And they always say whenever they're at wedding fairs and things, people want the new tunes and things like that. But actually on the day they're asking for them to play the Macarena or 9 to 5 or something like that. So it's always the old ones, the old tunes that get people up and staying up as well. That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's yeah, spot on. I think that speaking to your DJ is or your live musician or whoever is playing your music, it's really important to get that flow right, which is why you hire professionals in the first place, right? If you just do a playlist and you put a phone in, that's all well and good. You'll have music for the night, but you might not understand the flow and what's needed for a full dance floor if that's the vibe you're going for. Same as like with the ceremony, I always say it's nice if a friend or family member delivers your ceremony, but they might not know or understand is the flow and structure that needs to happen. It doesn't just happen by accident. So yeah, that's totally true. And I think with that first answer and the next one, that's definitely true. I know, Shuggy, you spoke before about the end of the night being the same sort of thing of having those three lined up. And I think in the middle, if you're having a buffet, for example, or some sort of evening food, you need to think about that as well. When's the point where you want everybody to know that's where the lull is and when they can go and get food versus when they should come back. So you need to think about all those pressure points, those time points, and your suppliers can help you with that. Claire, anything from you in terms of what you see from a venue perspective, in terms of what works best to get people dancing?
Do you know, I've seen it all. Well, I say that, but then always something always surprises me. So last summer, I'm going to talk about one of my weddings I had. It was brilliant. The bride didn't know. So they'd done their first dance and then they were doing the mother, son, father, daughter dance. So earlier in, I think the day before, the father had come and spoken to me and he about his plan. And I was under strict supervision of the props and hiding the props. So father-daughter dance started. I can't think off the top of my head now. It's quite a like slow, lovely song. And then all of a sudden, and the DJ obviously was in on this as well. So there was a DJ, myself, and I think her sister might have known, and like a couple of others. And then all of a sudden he just went, "Stop! This is not right." And like everybody like was standing around watching them. Everyone was like, like what's going on? At which stage I came running onto the dance floor with the pink inflatable blow up guitars. The music changed to a status quo number and they rocked the dance floor out for the rest of the song.
Love
It
that.
was brilliant. Everybody loved it. The bride had no idea. She was in her element. They loved it. I've got some great footage from that actually. I don't think I've ever shared that on my socials. I really should because it was brilliant. So yeah, things like that. That was great. It was a really nice surprise. But that surprise worked because the father had spoken to me, he'd spoken to the DJ. The kind of maid of honor, sister of the bride knew. So there was enough of us to know. Now, he couldn't have pulled that off without talking to us beforehand. And when I say hide the props, like I had like two giant pink blow up guitars, which I also had to blow up as well, which I needed to do. My bar staff are great, right? And I throw lots of jobs at them. So it worked really well, but he wouldn't have been able to pull that off. So, like you said, Zadie, it's really key to talk to your suppliers and do that. My other top tip is kind of yes, talk to your suppliers, whether it's a band, a DJ, a Kaylee, but consider who you've got in the room. So I've had couples where there might be younger couples and they're really into like hardcore dance music or like electronic dance music. Now that's great, right? But you do not want to be banging that out at 7:30 at night. So if you've got most weddings now will have families, so you've got young right through to perhaps grandparents. Now look, I've seen some grandparents get up and throw some right moves on that dance floor, but to the right music. So
Yeah.
whether that's kind of like my generation, I remember as a little one growing up, my parents are really into like the Beatles and that kind of thing. So for me, if I was planning, and I kind of am, I'm going to make sure that earlier on in the evening, so after the first dance, and I always tend to encourage cake cutting and first dance quite together because certainly in my venue it works really well. I have the cake at the front of the bus. We cut the cake, we bring everyone onto the dance floor, so you're not trying to herd cats all
Yeah.
day long and keep people kind of all together with it. But I'm certainly, and I say to my couples, think about who you've got and what music does your family like. And like Shaggy said, right, the old tunes that are going to get people up, whether it's like we might not all think Bucks Fizz or the Nolan sisters is cool, right? But I tell you, one of them songs comes on and everybody's on the dance floor. Now that might not be in your top 20 Spotify, other podcasts, music providers, Apple playlists, whatever you're listening to, right? That might not be one of your favorite top tunes on what you're listening to when you're working out or doing your housework or driving. But I'm telling you, I'm in the mood for dancing. It's going to fill that dance floor. So think about that balance of the music you like versus what's going to get the majority of your room up dancing. So if you're particularly into indie music or like electronic dance music, nobody's saying you can't have that.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily think you want to be starting your night early on with that kind of music because you will lose the interest for the dance floor straight away. So I always encourage my couples, if you've got that kind of vibe and and you want to keep certainly like all the family and you want to keep it inclusive for everybody, talk to DJs and look at the kind of music that your family, you've all grown up with, that is going to get everyone on the dance floor. Because I'm telling you, right, Granny does want to get up on that dance floor. Uncle Bob wants to get on that dance floor. So make it accessible and make it feel comfortable for them as well. So that would be my top tip.
Love that. I think completely you're right. If you want this vibe where everyone's dancing and having the best time and your dance floor's always full, is that your aim, or is it your aim to just listen to the music you like? Because they might not coincide and be the same outcome. And I think again it comes back to that flow thing of starting one way and building to something else. So, you can't just expect everyone to just be in the mood just because the music started at that time after the cake cutting. You have to build it up. You have to get people in the mood. Alcohol helps, but it only goes so fast.
Yeah. And also, I think we've got to think, like, I don't know if anyone else is like a Bridgerton fan or you've watched the latest series, Bridgerton. No spoilers, I promise,
Yeah.
right? But when they have their big balls and everybody's dancing, like in that kind of era, there were, like Shuggy has, I guess, there were set dances, there were routines. People knew what they were doing, right? And unless you've got the skills of Shuggy and some great musicians with some choreographed dances, people are just going to get up and like jigger out. So it's not, unless you've got someone who's coordinating like that dance things for Shuggy and the Canes, which is a great, fabulous idea. You need to think about the music.
Well, one way to get people up, like Shuggy says, is something like the Macarena or Saturday Night, or an ABBA song or something that everyone knows, that shared experience, that sort of level playing field is what you're aiming for, to get people up, to get people feeling comfortable. Like, oh, I know this one, or so and so knows this one, so they're going to drag me up, and that's how it builds, is by leveling that playing field, rather than, I think, having a dance to do like YMC or CA or whatever makes you feel less conscious because you're doing the same steps as everyone else, rather than, what do I do? I don't know how to dance. I don't know how to look good. So they don't have to, it removes that one thing for them to think about. So I totally agree.
I've seen quite a lot of couples who will on their invites ask people to suggest a song that they'd like on the dance floor.
Yeah.
That's quite nice, and certainly that's a great way then of knowing what everybody's vibe is, and you can start to, you might get 10 requests to Mr. Brightside, but you can then, and it's got to be played, right? It's a classic. It has to be played at some
Well,
stage of your wedding.
well,
I
I was
know
gonna
it's controversial. There are things that won't have it. I don't think I've done a wedding recently where it's not been played, right? But I would say that's quite a good way, because you'll then get a vibe off everybody about the kind of music. So ask people on the invitations, chat to your friends, chat to your family. And then I think we may kind of come on to talking about the end of the night and the dance floor at the end of the night. I always say to my couple, so I have quite a late license for a wedding venue. We have a license till 2 a.m. So I always say to my couples, think about how you want to finish the night. Like, Shaggy, I know, 2 a.m., right? I'm getting too old for 2 a.m. weddings. I literally get to bed at like 4 after a wedding, and I'm just like, yeah, 2 a.m. sounded great when I started Decadence. I was 11, 12 years younger than I am now, right? So 2 a.m. hurts a bit more these days, I'm not going to lie. But I always say to my couples, think about the finishing time. Think about how do you want to finish. So I have weddings where they may finish at 1, or they may finish at 12, or some of them at 2. And Shuggy will come on and he talks really well about the kind of like final songs and how you get to that with a big crescendo. But I also have weddings that insist they want to go on till 2 a.m. And like, let's say we've got 120 guests. Are all 120 guests still going to be in the room at 2 a.m.? People have got kids, people have gone home with kids, people have got taxis, people have got to take other people home, people are can't handle their
Yeah.
alcohol, people are old. So various different things. So I say, do you want this big crescendo finish, the whole wedding party on the dance floor? And then maybe do like an after party. So that's what I do with some of my couples. They may finish at like midnight, 12:30, and then lots of people will go, and there might be like a core hardcore 20 odd people. Back in the day when I first started doing Decadence, we were quite renowned for doing quite a few after parties that went on private land. It was all licensed, it was all fine, but it and the music was a lot lower, and we weren't serving alcohol. Just get all those disclaimers out there. But I've had after parties. I had one where I had to march a bride and groom to their guest accommodation at 5:15 in the morning, because we were done and we had to take Decadence down the next day. We were off site, right? But they'd had two young kids and they didn't get out much, and they were a great couple. Jess and Matt, they still follow me now on social. I still interact with them now, and they're great. But literally, like 5 in the morning, we carried on the after party too. But they had the big crescendo and finished the kind of main wedding at like 1, and then we kind of carried on for a little bit of an after party. But yeah, that's my other big tip. How do you want your night to finish? Are you happy with only 10 mates left on the dance floor at 2 a.m.? Or do you want a big high at the end of the night? And Shuggy will talk about the music choices because he does that way better than I can.
He does, and we'll come on to that. I want to come back to your one thing, the Claire, where I was like, oh, because I often tell people with the music choices, there's two things. One, like, yes, it's great. Absolutely love the idea of asking people for their song choices. Like Claire says, you get a good mix of understanding what people want. You can
And
then
you don't have to play the songs if you don't like them, right?
I was going to say, so you send that to the DJ, but what you also send is your absolute not plays. So it's really important because people will try and request things on the night. People will, like they'll send their songs and you send it to DJ and he thinks that it's all fair game. But if there are songs like Mr. Brightside that you absolutely hate, for example, like you're like, I never want it played at my wedding because I hear it at every other wedding. You need to tell your DJ that so that he has an absolute not playlist as well as an absolutely yes playlist. I think that's really important. And then with the live music as well, I think it's really interesting. Some people have live bands from 7:30 onwards and that's all they have. Some will have a live band that then goes into a DJ once they finish. So again, it's making sure those moving parts work how you want them to. If you have two different suppliers, make sure they're speaking to each other, or at least you have your venue, for example, that knows what's going on, or somebody who's organizing or planning your day. There would be my other top tips around that area. So unless anyone else has anything else to add, maybe let's finish with Shuggy ending how we should end the night on that famous 3-song archive that he like.
Yeah, and I think down here is not quite as bad. Just touching on something that you said there, Zadie, down here is not quite as bad for like don't play these songs. Um, there is a degree of football connotations with them, but if you go up north, there's a whole list of songs that people just don't want to play, depending on what side of Glasgow they're getting married at and what sort of religion their families are, and all sorts of nonsense like that.
Yeah.
Um, and I think as well, you can ask guests for like requests. You can say to the DJ, take requests on the night, don't take requests on the night, don't play these songs. Um, and there's a lot of that stuff. But then towards the end of the night, what I always say to couples, and this isn't something that I've picked up from DJs, to be honest, this is just something I've noticed myself. If you just have a last dance, and then the lights come on, everybody's a bit deflated and they feel like they've been shortchanged and they always want an encore. So what I say to couples is have 3 last dances. So you'll have, unless you're at a venue like Claire's, last orders at 11:30, and then about 15 minutes for that whole all the guests to get something to drink and stuff like that. Then you announce the last dance, and if the bride and groom aren't there, somebody should go and get them, and that's usually the DJ or me. Because it might just be outside getting having a moment. But then and people might ask, "What are you having this for your last dance?" But then you have a last dance after that, and I'll usually say something like, "Has everybody got enough energy for one more?" And everyone's, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." And the next one comes on, and then you have a final sort of big dance. So that could be something like Robbie Williams' Angels, could be Bohemian Rhapsody. Most like 11 out of 10 weddings that I do, it's Loch Lomond because there's always some sort of Scottish connection there. And then the lights come on after that, music finishes, and everybody's happy. And it's far less stressful for sort of your guests and stuff like that. And interestingly enough, when Claire was saying about weddings carrying on to the wee small hours, I can always tell. And I always have a few a year, and I've got two this year, and I've got one so far booked for next year. Getting married in my dad's farm in one of his fields in like a marquee or a stretch tent, and you're like, right, okay, all your neighbours are going to be there. It's if you say, oh, I finish about 1 o'clock, it's always going to be 3 o'clock or 5 o'clock. I've driven back from Kidderminster, the back of Beyonds in Kidderminster at like 5 o'clock in the morning. I don't really drive at that time in the morning, and it was after being up for like almost 24 hours, it was like a bit of a slow drive back.
Yeah.
And it pissed it down that particular wedding. It pissed it down all day and all night, and it was only just as I was packing up and leaving, and the sun was coming up that actually it cleared. Um, and they're always really good nights. And I always say to couples, I'm yours until like 5 o'clock in the morning. But if it is going to be 5 o'clock in the morning, they'll be, no, no, we'll be done much way before then. You're like, no, you won't be. Yeah. And there's some village halls where the village hall is actually a small village and there's no neighbours and stuff like that. That regardless of sort of music off at whatever time, you're still there at 2 o'clock in the morning in a village hall waiting as well. So they're always great.
Yeah. Should we
Love-
finish on songs that we would ban?
Oh, yes. Mine would be Wonderwall.
Would it?
I love
Controversial.
Oasis. I love Oasis so much, but I'm like, that is one of the most overplayed, and it's not even their best song. It just drives me wild. So yeah, that would be mine.
Do you know, I was not expecting you to say that, considering we were out last week and Zadie then went off to a Oasis tribute night, right? I was not
Exactly.
expecting you to come out with that. So mine, this might be controversial, but I'm standing by it, is House of Pain Jump Around.
Oh yeah, okay, I agree.
Cannot, right? And also because people start dancing. Now, I have a lovely, lovely dance floor. Now, once everyone's leaping about and jumping up and
Yeah,
down on
all
that,
clips off.
even though we're on the ground and we've got level ground and we've got HUD standing under our marquee, right? I can just see the pressure of my dance floor. But I also hate the song, right? I've never liked the song. So that would be mine, right? And we're going to let Sarah speak now. Don't think that we've not let her speak tonight. She's been really poorly and is literally conserving a tiny bit of voice. But she can say this maybe.
Actually, I hate ABBA, but I totally get why you'd have ABBA at a wedding, so I would let it go. But one song I really hate is True by Spandau Ballet. I don't know what it is. Oh, I just can't. And Gold, another one. I don't know what song is
Just
Spandau
found out
Ballet.
ballad.
Sorry,
Controversial.
that's it. I'm done. And I think Mr. Brightside's really overplayed as much as I love it. But I used to go to a New Year's Eve party, and it was the same DJ in the same venue every year for like, I don't know, 7 years. And after about 5 years, I could tell you what song was next, like when midnight hit, for the next like 10 songs, like because it was always the same. And I didn't start singing them before they actually came on because I knew what it was. So I think note for DJs, people do go to more than one wedding.
Yeah.
So don't keep your routine the same. And one other thing before it does totally go, is that listen to your DJ or your music provider, because it's probably your first, second, third, maybe fourth wedding, but it's probably their 300th, 400th, 500th. You know, the chances of your DJ, I mean, everybody starts somewhere, right? But the chances of it being their first wedding is pretty slim compared to you. So just, they hopefully know what they're saying. Listen to them. And now I'm muting again because I think I'm going to cough or die. I don't know which.
You did it though. Thank you for sharing. We got Sarah to speak, so that was an achievement. But yeah, I totally agree with both of your selections. Shuggy, where are you at?
I don't really have one. I think one of the things that I do say to couples when we're sort of 3 months before their wedding and we're talking about that part of the night is that the end of the Cayleys usually are Cajun Strip the Willow, Old Lang Syne, and Mr. Brightside. And the reasons I say that are not everybody likes Old Lang Syne, which is fine, so we can skip it. Not everybody likes Mr. Brightside, and I'd rather know 3 months before the wedding rather than on the night and the bride or groom going, I hate that song. So I've got like Chelsea Dagger, 500 Miles, there's a million other ones that you can put on instead. That'll keep that floor going. But the amount of videos that I've got at the end of Old Lang Syne, where sort of the music finishes, the lights dim, the disco lights come on, and that chords of Mr. Brightside come on, and everybody's bouncing, which is, you might not like it and stuff like that. It does keep people on the dance floor, but it's that type of song. But I don't particularly have a song that I don't like or don't play. Or I've got a few songs that I'm not all that keen on, but it's not my wedding, it's somebody else's wedding, so I'll
No, but
just
if
play
it's your wedding, if you were getting married again, what song would you ban?
it. No, if I was getting married again, I just do the playlist. I wouldn't ban anything. I just do the playlist myself, and it'll be Scottish songs.
That's it. We're not getting
And
any.
I'm just checking because
Not being pushed into
my
this.
wife doesn't hear me say that. I'm not getting married again. Two is enough.
Third time lucky. No, I'm joking. Okay,
No,
we will end it there. But yeah, let us know in future if there's anything else you want us to chat about or these guys to chat about. We hope you've enjoyed that and that you've taken away some top tips. Let us know in the comments what you think if you've got any tips to add. And we will see you soon.
take care. Bye.